Hi everyone, it's time to do a tour of the working gardens here in Dower House. I'm going to show you the working gardens, I'm going to show you the orchard and the greenhouse and our future plans. If you're new here, we're doing this massive restoration and gardens of not only one but several properties. We are focusing on Dower House at the moment, and I want to show you this garden that we have created from scratch. Now, when we bought this place, this was just lawn, and what we wanted to do, it was a design a working garden, because it will have had, the Georgians will have had a working garden. We didn't have brick walls, so we wanted to create with you hedging these walls to create pockets and areas, but also to stop the wind. We have got very open winds in here. We have struggled with this hedging in the past. This one is doing well, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed that in a few years it's going to be nice and tall and all nice and thick. Our plan within this working garden was three main things. We wanted soft fruit, we want things that we can eat, we want things that grows and we can keep for storage over the winter, and also flowers, because I like my flower arrangements. So we decided to, well, Dean is an architect, in case that you don't know, so we wanted to make sure that everything is very symmetrical. So what you see on one side is very likely we're going to have the same in the other side. So when you walk through, it's not only a working garden, but it's nice and it's a design. So if you come along, on this first row we have got raspberries. Now this is my absolute recommendation of raspberries. This is called golden raspberry, and if you have never come across, extremely prolific. It does a lot of raspberries starting really early on all the way to the autumn, and they are very yummy. Our child absolutely loves it, and he always comes here, wants to eat them from the bush straight. So very nice, very easy to keep. One of the things that you have to keep an eye is that they send runners. So basically from the roots, they spread out and then new shoots are coming through. They can come through the grass from other places. You have to keep on top of pulling them to make sure that they don't take over. So we do have 4 different species. Ones are the ones that you basically chop down in the winter, and then the other ones are the ones that they grow on the last year's wood, which that's always more complicated because you're like, it looks messy for a season, and I know that Dean likes everything looking very neat and perfect. So this year is not been a year that I am the most happy about the garden, just because we've been working very hard inside the house, so we haven't had as much chance to enjoy the garden as we wished. Dean has just spent 5 hours tidying up. I wanted to show you as it was, but Dean was like, no, I'm not having that, because that is not how I like my guests to look at my garden. So it's all nice. He's tidied up all the bushes and is now weed free. So next up on these rows, we have got rhubarb, and I know you're probably going to be thinking, what is this? What is this? It's very lovely. We actually bought them just because of the structure. It's a terracotta bell, and is actually a rhubarb forcer. You can just put a bucket and that will do. So you just put this forcer or something to warm up the crown of the rhubarb before it starts the season of growing, and it forces it to push the growth, and then everything is very tender and it comes up earlier. So that's what it is in there. We just have them just because they looked very nice and pretty, and it as well like keeps with the symmetry. You can tell these ones, they are different varieties. These ones do extremely well. These rhubarbs have not done very well, or maybe they have, it's just a different variety, so it's not as like incredibly big as the other ones. And then after that we have got black currant, red currant, white currant, all the currants we have in here. This was the only thing that we were able to save out of this garden. So when it was when we bought it, it was all grass. There was a big pile of grass clippings which we reused to put all around the hedging, because it was like really good compost. And then they had 3 random bushes. So this was the actual ones that we managed to save from the old owners, and they've done very well. On the opposite side, Dean got a different species, which I don't know what they are, but they as well, I think they are still black currant, red currant stuff, but a different type, aren't they?
No, no, no.
They're exactly the same.
Well, I think so.
Oh, he doesn't. Yeah. So he believes they're the same, but he doesn't know quite yet. So we haven't had fruit actually because they grow in all wood. I think I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I'm not very good with this type of fruits. I'm better with onions and all of that. So these upper rows, they stay exactly the same all year around, every year. They're very easy. We just have to keep on top of the weeds and making sure that we pull all the suckers. Now the next rows is where I'm starting to take over, and that's why they don't look as perfect as they would like. But I wanted to make sure there was a mixture of, in this case, leeks, which this year I've left to go to flower because the bees absolutely love them. So much so that they have gone to seed now. The seed has fallen and there are already lots of seedlings on the floor. On the next in the next section, I've got artichokes. These are 3 years old. The problem that I've got with the artichokes, I was saying to Dean, I don't know if I want to keep them, is we never pull the artichokes, which is like sacrilege, because obviously I think the next year I'm going to have to do something, but they get so big that then you struggle to kind of get through them. And then of course are my dahlias, which I just love dahlias so much. They just bring me so much joy. This one is the 3rd year because I brought some of these. I got them from, I split them, I separate them, I got them from cuttings, and bees love them and they made me so happy. I do need to deadhead, so this is a full-time job which I didn't have this year, and they have gone a little bit wild. Out of these ones, you can see there is a theme with the color, and it's because this is the colors that I do tend to like to put inside as a vase, which are like soft pinks, whites, but there are some that I like better when it comes to cutting for flowers, which is I like them very upright, they're easy to cut. So these ones, for example, they're very impactful, the bigger ones, but they're not as good to kind of have a big sort of display. The other side is exactly the same. I've got a different color. This color, this is just so nice. I love it so much. I mean, I'm gonna do a close-up of this because it's like wine. It's beautiful. One thing that I did do this year is I was growing chives. And I had them for a long time, and I had them in pots, and I decided that I wanted to have all around the circle chives. Chive is one of, I think, an underrated herb that you use everything. You can use the flowers for arrangements, the flowers are edible, and you can eat everything. It's also the muntjacs and the wildlife do not touch them. We have learned here, which we have got a lot of wildlife because we have got open fields, is the muntjacs do not like to have onions or chives. Well, they can eat everything, but they don't seem to like this strong smelling. Now, as we move along to the next rows, I want to say what I wanted to test out this year. In my head, it makes a lot of sense, but it hasn't gone to plan. And is that I wanted to create these, in my head it was beautiful dividing hedges of things I was going to grow, of cosmos. And I thought it was not going to grow this high and it was going to be absolutely packed with flowers. I think that it's been a big fail because a lot of it has grown so big, but it hasn't made flowers. So it's just very big green. And also it's flopped and it has stopped other things growing. But I had my cosmos, which I will be saving seeds. So you can see there's a lot of seeds that I can already save, I will give to some friends. This is borage down there, which it was very pretty, but I will have to pick the seeds as well, which actually I did use in Danteo's birthday as arrangements. It was very pretty, very woodland-like. And then this year I've also planted echinacea. I am a firm believer that when you don't feel well, as soon as we start to don't feel well, we have echinacea, and and we get well. You know, maybe it's mentally, but that's what I do. So I want to make sure that I've got fresh echinacea, so I can make teas. I think you use the roots and also the flowers and teas. I have to research more, but I've got it here. They have taken, so next year we will have a lot of echinacea. Now, if we move to the next one, this year I've decided to plant roses. Now, these are roses that I took from cuttings years ago from our rose garden in the main estate, and I wanted to bring them here because I wanted to start growing them here, because in the future we're going to have a rose garden in here. It's going to be different to the one that we have in the main estate, because I don't want it as formal. I want to have more informal of roses with other things. And I have separated them with sage, which is doing extremely well. I wish there was a way to show, you know, to pass the smells. This sage is so healthy. The other side is the same. This is the a different that is very good with roses, and I can't remember the name. That's the one that you got me. I'm taking cuttings of that in the greenhouse, which I forgot about it, and I will have to see if some have taken. Again, it works very well with the roses. It helps. We've got a little robin following us, and it helps, you know, to kind of like stop like black fly and green fly and all of that. So, but one of the problems that we have with the roses is the muntjac, which they are small deer. If you don't know where they are, they literally eat the whole roses. So, oi, I'm killing my. This is. We do have a watering system set up. More sage to separate them. The idea with like, I love separation in the beds with perennial things. So in this case with sage, I've got this one, this one is called Queen of Sweden. I really like this rose. It smells amazing, and it's as well very upright, which is great for cutting. On that over there, I'm interplanting my cosmos with some chard. If you are new at planting, I will say chard is one of the best things you can plant, because it lasts over the winter. You can use like the leaves outside, and it keeps growing, keeps growing, keeps growing. This is my cosmos. I mean, this is what I was imagining it was going to be, all like that. Look, it's full of bees. It's nice and spacious. In between these rows of cosmos, I think you probably can get a good feel from here. We've got some celery. So this was my idea. I didn't think it was going to be that high, but it was going to be sections, some planting section. This was onions, which Dean has pulled up. And then again, I think I planted more onions there. Same here, these are my marigolds. I love, as I say, like the difference, but also like the bees really like it. And if you have got things that bees love, then your crops are much bigger and they're much healthier. We've got some potatoes here. Dean just pulled this. We had red onions and normal onions. What we do with the onions is we leave them here to dry out with the sun. Then we move them into the greenhouse, so they are further like dried, and then we store them. Luckily for us, we have got a cellar which is like nice and dry, so we can just move them there and we use them over winter. So that is one of the things that we plan, we forget about them, and then we have got a lot of onions to use. And I will say this, you will think, but onions are much cheaper to buy in the supermarket. They are very different how they taste. Actually, everything is very different how it tastes when you grow it at yours than when you buy it from the supermarket. Here is fresh, it has got so much flavor. So you can see here like the difference. I'm gonna pick one. This is one of the onions. Look at the size of these. Compared with the marigolds. The marigolds are much lower, so a lot of sun has managed to kind of get through, so it's grown much bigger. That other onions, which were planted by the cosmos, and I didn't think it was going to be this high, they haven't done as well. You see the difference? It's incredible. So it does show you that what you plan around is so crucial. But I mean, these are taller than me, you know? I'm 8 foot. I'm 6 foot. Sorry, not 8 foot, I'm 6 foot. Forgot to show you this, which is I planted 2 tomatoes. So these are two of the tomato plants that we have in here. I wanted to see how well they were doing outside in comparison to the greenhouse, but also if they were going to make it based on the wildlife. This year is all about being testing out, because last year and the year before, we didn't have issues with wildlife. So I think that they now know we plant things and it's like, oh yeah, it's like a buffet, you know, let's come here. So they have survived. I don't know if it's because the cosmos were like growing over it and then sort of like hitting it, but let's show you the greenhouse, because we have got so many tomatoes in the greenhouse.
So Borgia was looking all pretty. I am in my dirty clothes because I've just tidied that garden for you guys. So I'm going to show you the greenhouse, and the reason I'm going to show it because there's literally one species in here, so I can't get anything wrong. But first up, we have tested out some new irrigation this year, which doesn't rely on mains water. So it's just a tank or a bucket or a bin full of water, and it pumps it with a solar panel. So everything is just off grid, and it waters these plant pots, and it has done so well. I'll show you on the other side the system, but these are blueberries. They weren't doing very well in the main estate, so we brought them over here, and these are all new shoots from this year. It's unbelievable how much it's picked up just with the right sort of watering. Just as another little point, that it's a drip feeder. Even when you have a hosepipe ban, you can still use these systems, which is great. Right, greenhouse. So this year we focused predominantly on growing tomatoes. Lots of tomatoes, and we've done them in different ways. So as Borgia said, we planted some outside, we've planted some in pots, and we planted some in troughs. You can quite visibly see the troughs work so much better, so much so that we're thinking that next year we'll be putting troughs all across here as well. Anything we plant in these troughs seem to do really well. Last year we planted a lot of sort of salads, so like lettuces and spinaches and stuff like that. But this year we wanted to go for tomatoes, and we have been inundated. I've made so many sauces. I've been giving tomatoes away, and look, we've still got loads to pick. What we did do though was we didn't limit it just to tomatoes in here. We did plant a few things underneath. We knew that they wouldn't grow as great because they'll be overshadowed by the tomatoes. But we added a few marigolds here. Trying to remember what Borgia told me about why the marigolds are there. Something to do with protecting the tomatoes?
Companion planting.
Yes, companion planting. So yeah, we've done some marigolds, and we put some carrots in here as well. Now, because of the trough, they're not going to grow very big. But look. A little 2-inch carrot. But it's, we were testing it out to see what we could grow in the troughs this year. We also haven't spent much time in the garden at all this year, so it's gone a little bit unruly. We really needed to create more of a sort of a framework up here so the tomatoes could grow, because they've kind of doubled down on themselves. And we've also, on reflection, we kind of like the cherry tomatoes more than the kind of salad tomatoes. Great thing is about growing your own fruit and vegetables is just coming out, any day you want to and just picking what you want, and it just feels so much fresher. Dante absolutely loves coming in here and picking tomatoes. He will not stop. He doesn't know when. He's like a Labrador. He doesn't know when to stop eating. He will just keep eating the tomatoes until there are none left. But yeah, so we've done really well with the tomatoes this year. Note to self, they don't work very well in plant pots, or in particular terracottas, because the terracottas tend to take all the moisture out of the soil, so it's quite dry. Look at me, I'm just like such a gardener right now. And then, as Borgia mentioned before, we take the onions out. If it's dry weather, we leave them outside for a bit, and then we bring them in here. You'll see that we've got these drying kind of racks. We try and keep them spaced out, because if there's a rot in one of them, it'll rot across all the rest. These are garlics, and then underneath we've got onions. We've got lots of onions this year. I mean, look at the size of that one. It's ridiculous. Because of the humidity outside when it's winter and it's wet, they'll go rotten, so they have to be in a dry space, so we take them inside. Other things we've added in here is we've added basil. It's supposed to change the flavour of the tomatoes, but we haven't really noticed that really. And so we've attempted pots up here. We've had our irrigation set up, so it's not the irrigation that's the issue, it's the pots. We've also done low-level pots here. This one's grown a bit better than this one. Maybe it just likes this side. Maybe the sunlight in the morning is better for it than in the afternoon. I don't know. Yeah, we do have a sycamore there, which shadows the greenhouse a little bit during like high sun. So that may help it. But yeah, so the greenhouse is constantly changing. We're slowly adapting to what we think works best in here. We learn every year what works, what doesn't. We probably won't plant as many tomatoes next year. For me, I think next year, tomatoes on one side and then salads like lettuces and stuff like that. Things that don't work well outside because they get eaten alive. So like lettuces, spinaches, lamb's lettuce, that sort of stuff. We have got another section at the back here which we still haven't worked through, but let me show you the irrigation system that we've got for the pots. So we've got 2 pots there and 2 pots this side, and we've just got a bin that we've got full of water. This is a solar panel. You set it up. This is from Gardena. You set it up with a timer, and it just pumps. It's actually simpler than the mains irrigation. It's crazy. So yeah, we're really happy with how that's turned out. This section has been like this for the past 2 years. We're still umming and ahhing on what we're going to do with it. I even dug a hole about 6 months ago, which I didn't fill back in, to see if I can get some pipes from the greenhouse down here, and we have a water collection underground, but it's rock down there. So I thought we could dig it by hand, but obviously not. So this is going to be a very utilitarian space. We wanted to have rainwater harvesting, compost area, things we really need for the garden now that we don't currently have. But I do want it to make it look pretty because we see it from different spaces. Let's take you up to the orchard and we'll explain to you what fruit trees we planted and what our eventual plan is for that space.
Now, this is, I feel this will end up being the jewel of the garden because we put in the work every year. We're planting some bulbs, and we want this orchard to be one of these orchards that not only gives you fruit, but also you can come here, have a picnic, have a chill, you know, like over the years to come. So we planted plums, pears, apples and cherries. We wanted to make sure is that we had as established trees as we could afford. This is probably going to be one of those that people will either say like, no, or yeah, do it. Here by me, we have got one of these really big sort of Christmas trees. I think it's a type of sequoia something. It's an American species of tree. And yes, it could be very nice in Christmas. Dean wants to keep it. I suggested to, in the future, push the orchard that way, so have more orchard and get rid of it. I like it because it gives structure, so maybe when this matures, we'll do that. I'm not really sure. Now, here you can see that over the last 2 years, we have planted over 5,000 bulbs. In the spring, it's looking amazing. This has been the second year. We planted more last year on sections that we didn't like how full they were, and I'm hoping that next year is going to be quite incredible. As you can see with this hedging, you probably see, oh, they're nothing, but in our minds, they already fully established with a big arch. We will put like some sort of like iron gates in here, so then you will open the gates and we'll go into the orchard. And I think this is a nice thing about gardens, you know, it takes time, but you can imagine them how they will be. You separate them, put them in pockets, and then instead of having this massive lawn, you can have little sections that you feel, okay, I can manage this, I can maintain this. Let's do today the orchard, let's do tomorrow the working garden, and then sort of like space them out. Didn't put the chicken coop in there. We won't have the chicken coop eventually there. I think maybe we have chickens in the future. It is very hard because having chickens, it is a commitment. if we go to Spain, the chickens cannot fly with us to Spain, so we have to sort of organize for somebody to kind of come, feed them, clean them. So maybe in the future when Anteo is older and he can enjoy, you know, coming, collecting eggs and all of that. I absolutely love this tree. This was in here. You can actually see, I know we keep mentioning, but we generally are in a very windy side. So much so that you can see the shape of the tree, and you can see that because of the wind, it's not grown straight up. And you can see that it's grown, you know, onto the side. Same on the other one. This is a much smaller tree. This is a eaters. They are absolutely stunning and they're so yummy. In fact, like when we have forgotten to go shopping, this is our dinner. We just come to the tree and pick some apples for dinner. But they are very, very nice. We just have to kind of like keep on top of collecting. So in the future, we are thinking that potentially we will enlarge the orchard. We will put some sort of estate fencing around the drive, and will be, you know, I don't know, I just imagine it like in a few years time how lovely it's going to be. So I do hope that you have enjoyed walking around the garden with us, and this is where we're at. We started from nothing, so for me it's a huge achievement, and I want to do another one maybe later on in the winter and see how it's looking, do a progress, and then, you know, we can see it in the seasons how it's changing and evolving. Thank you so much, guys. If you have any recommendation of planting, bulbs, suggestions and ideas, please leave them in the comments. We love to hear it, because sometimes we're like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. We never even thought about that. And give it a thumbs up, like it, share it, you know, helps us to spread the word of the work that we're doing. We love you. Lots of kisses.
Coming up on next week's episode.
Welcome to our new kitchen.
Oh no. It's the middle of winter. I broke the heating.